Hello, everyone. As an English teacher, I recognize that many of you are really working hard to learn this language. And sometimes, to be honest, it can feel a little unfair, right? Like, why is English so dominant? Why does it seem like native speakers have such an advantage? Today, I want to talk about just that. English didn't become the global lingua franca because it's inherently superior to other languages. No language is, actually. That's just a fact, right? Instead, it was a series of historical events and powerful forces that, shaped its dominance. To begin with, you've got the rise of the British Empire. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the British Empire spread across the globe. Wherever they went, English became the language of administration, education, and trade. This really seeded the language worldwide, Following that, in the 20th century, the United States emerged as a global superpower. After World War II, international organizations like the UN and the IMF adopted English as an official language. This kind of cemented its role in global politics, economics, and science. Subsequently, and this is a big one, of course, globalization and the Internet. With the end of the Cold War and the boom of the Internet, English became the common infrastructure for business, science, and entertainment. Most academic papers, international conferences, and software development all rely on English. So English is dominant because of history, not because it's better. But this creates a real sense of unfairness and even discrimination, especially for non-native speakers like many of us. And believe me, I totally get it. I understand this firsthand. Learning English was a struggle for me, and gosh, I still get negative comments about my English even today. It's a truly complex feeling, Here's why it feels unfair and can lead to discrimination. First, unequal playing fields. Imagine an international conference, right? A native English speaker expresses their ideas freely without thinking about translation or grammar. But if English isn't your first language, you're not just thinking about what to say, but how to say it perfectly. That's a huge handicap, Your true ability and brilliant ideas might not come across as strongly, you know what I mean? Next, psychological burden. The fear of making mistakes. The anxiety of not sounding perfect. These are heavy burdens. It can make you feel like your knowledge or skills are undervalued just because your English isn't flawless. You can have deep expertise, but if your English isn't perfect, you might face unfair criticism, like, seriously. Furthermore, systemic discrimination. Beyond personal feelings, the dominance of English can create actual discriminatory barriers. Non-native speakers might be overlooked for jobs or academic opportunities, not because of their skills or intelligence, but because their English isn't native-like. Their accents, grammar mistakes, or slower processing speed in English can be unfairly interpreted as a lack of competence or intelligence. This means you might face disadvantages that have nothing to do with your actual abilities, at all. Lastly, marginalization of other cultures. When English dominates, other languages and cultures can be sidelined. Information often flows primarily in English, potentially leading to a less diverse global conversation. You know what I mean? So how do we find peace amidst this unfair reality? What can we do? Well, to start, English proficiency is not a measure of your intelligence or worth. Your knowledge, your critical thinking, your humanity, these are completely separate from how good your English is. English is simply a tool. Additionally, sometimes, you just have to accept what you can't change. This world has a lot of unfairness, let's be real. The reality of English as an international language isn't something we can easily change. Instead of constantly fighting against something that can't be changed, it's wiser to acknowledge it and, to some extent, give in to that reality. This can help reduce unnecessary stress and let you move forward constructively, I think. Lastly, shift your mindset about English. Instead of aiming for perfect native-like English, aim for understandable English. In many international settings, clear communication is far more important than perfect grammar or pronunciation. Often, when non-native speakers communicate, there's a mutual understanding that nobody is perfect, which can actually make things smoother if you think about it. Here's a crucial point. While English is dominant, your relationship with it is ultimately your choice. Even if you're feeling unmotivated, that's totally valid. However, if, after considering everything, you feel that trying to master English is causing you too much stress or isn't aligned with your goals, then it's perfectly fine to decide to cut ties with it. You don't have to become fluent in English to be successful, valuable, or happy. Your life and career can take many paths where English isn't the primary focus. You have the right to prioritize your mental well-being and pursue what truly interests you. However, since you're in a situation where English learning is mandatory, here's how to make the most of that time without letting the unfairness overwhelm you. First, make the most of mandatory time. Since you're already spending time on English in class, it's smart to make that time as productive as possible. Even if it feels like a long way around, learning efficient approaches to English can help you waste less effort and gain more from your required studies, Next, treat English as a powerful tool and sharpen it. Yes, it's unfair, but English opens doors. It gives you access to more information, connects you with more people, and expands your opportunities. Focus on making your English functional. Practice reading, writing, listening, and speaking consistently. Moreover, speak up and participate actively. Don't let a lack of confidence hold you back. Your ideas matter. If you struggle with spoken English, use visual aids, clear slides, or written summaries to support your points. Additionally, leverage your unique strengths. English is just one skill. What are your other strengths? Your expertise, your unique perspective, your cultural understanding. These are invaluable. For example, being able to explain complex Japanese cultural concepts effectively in English is a strength a native English speaker might not have, you see. Finally, adjust your expectations of native speakers. Sometimes, native speakers simply don't understand the challenges non-native speakers face. It's often not malicious, If you receive an unfair comment, try to see it as their lack of understanding, rather than a personal attack. This can protect you emotionally, I think. The dominance of English is a product of history, not an indicator of its inherent superiority or of anyone's worth. By understanding this unfairness, accepting the reality of what can't be changed, and strategically engaging with English, or choosing a different path, you can truly expand your potential and find peace in this globalized world. What are your thoughts on this? I'd love to hear your perspectives. Oh, and here's a little secret for you. The entire script for this video was actually generated by Gemini, an AI. So hey, take it easy. With your creativity and all these new tools, you'll definitely find your way through this English journey.